we saw this weekend in the loss of Philip Seymour Hoffman, who died at the age of 46, the terrible tragedy of our war on drugs. Now, let me explain. First of all, I found this really interesting. Mike Gallagher is one of my colleagues. He's a conservative talk show host. I think he's over on Salem Radio. And I don't know him well. You know, we've met a few times, but speak at the same conferences and things. But over on his website, mikeonline.com, he said, another senseless death, this time one of the greatest actors of our times. I wonder if he started with marijuana. If you want to get pot lovers mad, dare to even ask the question if an Oscar-winning movie star who's found dead in his bathroom with a needle stuck in his arm started with marijuana. He's opposed to decriminalizing pot. And I guess you would assume from Mike Gallagher's statement that we can expect to see an explosion of heroin overdoses now in Washington State and Colorado. And I think it's this uninformed, jingoistic perspective, which is widely embraced in America. Talkers Magazine, this is how I learned of what happened, you know, Mike's experience, what Mike Gallagher said, because Talker says that he got over 50,000 views and death threats against him, his family, and his dog for posting this on his website. But I mean, mostly, you know, hey, this guy's getting some publicity, right, for coming out and saying this. I think it's just it's a sad state of affairs. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the experience of the United Kingdom and Switzerland and Canada up until last November, which had turned heroin into a prescription drug and treated heroin addiction as a public health problem rather than a crime, that heroin doesn't ravage the liver the way alcohol does, and heroin doesn't cause lung cancer the way smoking does. This is not a pro-heroin pitch. I actually think that there are medicinal values and even recreational values to pot. I don't think that of heroin. But that said, there actually is a medicinal value for heroin. It's a very, very powerful painkiller. I mean, you know, if morphine doesn't quite work but is almost getting you there, prescription heroin should be available, in my opinion. I mean, it was originally sold as a cough medicine for children by Bayer. They came up with a brand name, heroin. You can find online pictures of the old 1918 bottles of heroin cough syrups for children. It works. And it does work. It just has this side effect of being very addictive. But the principal two side effects of the use of heroin are addiction and the things that come along with it being illegal, which are principally disease and the threat of imprisonment. And what Switzerland and England found was that when they made heroin a prescription drug and said to doctors, and very carefully supervised, doctors who are specialists in addiction, not just, you know, any old doc, you may prescribe this to addicts to treat their addiction. And the heroin addicts would come into these clinics 3 times a day and shoot up, literally shoot up, with a brand new fresh needle. That their rates of HIV and hepatitis and other blood-borne infections plummeted. Crime dropped because these guys didn't have to steal anymore to support a habit. Many of these heroin addicts continued their heroin addiction but went back into the workplace, gained weight, got healthy, got jobs, and eventually quit using heroin. There have been a dozen documentaries done on this. There's all you have to do is go to YouTube and type in prescription heroin, and you'll see the BBC has done documentaries on it. The CBC has done documentaries on it. There's a brilliant one done by Dutch television. In public health circles, this is not contested. So, the idea that because Colorado and Washington State have legalized pot, you're going to see an increase in the use of heroin. That's nonsense. You're going to see a decrease in the use of heroin in those states because people no longer have to need to go to illegal marketplaces to buy pot. And those illegal marketplaces where people were buying pot are also the places where heroin is sold. Number one. So actually, my prediction is 5 years from now, we're going to look back and we're going to be able to see the clear epidemiological trend that the use of heroin, and not just heroin, cocaine, and all the other illegal drugs that can be very, very destructive, that their use is going to decline in those states. My prediction, number one. And number two, I think it's time for us to declare an end to the war on drugs. If Philip Seymour Hoffman had been able to go to a clinic or a doctor and say, I have an addiction disease, and get prescription heroin, or if he had access, I guess he had a lot of money, he had access to it, the opportunity to get clean, he might not be dead right now.